When Joy showed me how we can actually control Google's search results with this, it totally blew my mind. Let's get into this.
Yeah, so when I first did this test a few years ago, I did not expect this to work at all. Thought it was a pretty spammy tactic. And after testing over and over for the last few years, I've really changed my mind on this particular link building topic.
Okay, Joy, what are we talking about here?
So what I'm talking about is anchor text. Now, I want to define what anchor text is. It's a very SEO term. So if you're not in the industry, you might be like, what the hell is anchor text? Anchor text is basically the words that you use to link to another page. So if I want to rank for best SEO company in the world, I'd put the words best SEO company in the world and then link that to a page on Sterling Sky's website.
And fun fact, if you think it's hard to explain to your family what you do as an SEO, try to explain to them what anchor text is. You did a pretty good job though.
Yeah, so I've heard a lot of SEOs say like, oh, Google looks at anchor text. Don't use anchor text. Or if you're going to use anchor text, use it very sparingly because it's a big spam signal to Google.
Yep.
So I often kind of just avoided it. I was like, oh, if a link has anchor text, it's bad. That's not true. And I want to show you why. So in this test that I did, I basically built a link to a test website from Sterling Sky's website. Yes, I used our own site for testing. Figured if I did it once, it wasn't too risky. And I made sure that the anchor text was specifically targeting a keyword that I wanted this site to rank for. And we saw this increase right away. Now, I was really curious to know how much the anchor text played in this because I've heard it matters, but I wanted to know how much it matters. So I went back to that link and I updated the anchor text to be something different, a totally different keyword. And what I saw was really shocking. I expected a small decline, but I didn't expect it to go off a cliff. And I basically saw that when I changed the anchor text, they lost all the gains that they got originally from that link, which kind of led me to think anchor text might even matter more than the link itself because the link was still there. It just didn't have the keyword as the anchor text anymore.
Hey, Joy, can you give us a sense, either the exact variations or just a sense of how different the first anchor text was versus the second anchor text? Are we talking a slight variation or just completely different?
Yeah, I believe the second one had something to do with SEO. So it was like local SEO instead of web design. Same kind of realm. And again, we saw increases on the new anchor text, but we saw the complete unraveling of all the original, which I wasn't expecting it to completely undo. I was expecting like a small decline. So it really surprised me just how much anchor text matters because a lot of people these days will say like, oh, Google's smarter than that. They don't measure anchor text as much as they used to because, you know, they've evolved and blah, blah, blah. Unfortunately, I've seen over the years that anchor text matters a lot. And so it's still a method that you can use to control Google search results. Of course, big disclaimer, make sure you don't do it at scale or you could face a lot of undoing of your efforts.
There's that word. And if anyone hasn't checked out our previous video, we were talking about link echoes, a really interesting concept. Definitely go check it out and watch that part. What's like striking to me here, maybe this is just me being kind of silly, but I guess when it comes to anchor text, there's no such thing as like anchor text echoes, right? Because we switched it and it's not like Google somehow held on to the previous thing that was there. It just completely changed. No memory of what was there before.
Yeah, and just to clarify, we saw this reversal with local pack rankings too. So we added the link, rankings went up, woohoo, we're in the 3-pack, everything's great. We changed the anchor text, rankings went right back to where they were.
Wow. And I think also to point out here what's interesting, because we covered this a little bit in our previous video, you'll probably notice the screenshots before for the organic rankings compared to local pack, it's a much smaller, like organic went from all reds to greens. On the pack side, it was a much smaller movement. But as a lot of people, I think smartly pointed out in some of the comments on the previous video, going from just outside of the local pack to inside the local pack, even though it's a smaller move, it's still a big deal.
Sure, if you can move one position in local pack rankings, that's great. The problem that I run into is link building is a lot of work. It's a lot of money for a business owner to fork out. So I do see a lot of business owners spending a lot of money on link building to try and move local pack rankings. And I think there's a point where there's just no ROI there due to how much volume you have to do in order to budge just a little bit.
So in summary, anchor text matters a lot. But again, going back to what seems to be a recurring theme here, scale. Be very careful when you're doing these types of things at scale. If you don't do them at scale and you do them very strategically, that's where you can make a big impact.